And what I'm saying is, I feel like what you guys are doing right now really takes me back to 12 years ago, which we think 12, 13 years ago is not that much time. But in the UAE, 12, 13 years ago feels like another lifetime. But 12, 13 years ago, when it was me and my peers, similar to yourself, we started a online platform. At the time, it was called a blog, which I don't know if a lot of people still use that. We didn't have social media platforms to our means to use. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have podcasts. So we felt the need that we wanted to see more people like us doing amazing things. And we didn't know how to reach them. So me and my friends started collecting names like Mohammed Said Harb, the creator of Farij and Lamthara Studios, Hala Badri, who is now Her Excellency of Dubai Culture. But at that time, she was Senior Vice President of Do at the time. And she was paving the way for young Emirati females in the industry of brand and comms. So we interviewed people like this, Anas Bukhash, all of them, 12 years ago, and we felt there was potential. MashaAllah, look at where they've reached today.
Yeah.
So we had this little unit of like on our website where we would post up their interviews. It was text. And then, when we got a little tech savvy, we started recording interviews. And then these lived on the website as well. And so they were proper, I think, 10 to 15 minute long form video interviews with them. And I was interviewing them. And I felt it was very important for us to get representation. Well, SF, due to the way my career progressed, we put the entire agency, which ended up being an agency, on hiatus. I focused on other parts of my career, but when I got your message and when I saw your mandate and I saw the brief and I saw the work that you were doing, it took me back. Yeah. I'm so happy that this continues to be something that's so important, that people still really feel like there's a need to still want to connect with other Emiratis out there and hear their stories.
It's just a generation gap now. We're doing it in a different way, and then
Yes,
maybe in the future people will be doing it, let's say, on metaverse or something.
exactly. We don't know. Hopefully, let's see. But yeah, bravo to you and the entire team. I think this is such an amazing thing, and thank you. I feel honored actually to be part of the journey معاكم, and I feel like whatever I can do to serve your purpose and voice even further, it's the least I can do.
Relax, we're honored to have you. Such a contribution of your time and effort, especially when you're an entrepreneur and you're working as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot. I mean, how do you manage all of these things?
So I had to learn the hard way, mainly about this. What I mean is, I basically tried a bit of both. In the very beginning, let me take you back. So like I told you, I turned 35, but when I graduated at the age of 21, I graduated actually with an accounting and finance degree. I graduated from the University of Essex in the UK. And I was very much the type that when I graduated from high school, I got asked by my family, what do you want to do when you grow older? And then at the time, this is, when was it? 2005, maybe. I basically told them, I don't know, but I like media. And at the time when I said that to my parents, they immediately looked at me and they said, يعني تبى تكون مذيع? What do you want to be? Like, you want to be an actor? You want to be a TV presenter? And I kept on telling them, no, but I know that I want to do something in media. I just don't know what that is yet. So my dad looked at me, which is, I think, a traditional Arab father, and said, yeah, you're doing something that's actually going to make you proper money. So let's look at the proper things. Okay, do you want to be a lawyer? No. Do you want to be an engineer? No. Do you want to be a doctor? No. He goes, okay, you want to be in business? Because my dad's an entrepreneur. And so I said, sure. And I'm the eldest of 4 boys. So I was the first guinea pig that went out to try the real world. And so I said, why not? Let's go in business. And so it was, in a way, I didn't really have much say or a choice. Not that I was forced to do accounting and finance as a degree, but I didn't know what my passion was, and I didn't know how to explain it properly at that time. We weren't having as much tools to have awareness back then in terms of social media platforms. I actually didn't know what was happening across the world in these specific industries. And so I went in, did accounting and finance, came back, and then and while I was doing it, I was like, well, I guess it looks like it's fine. Um, I can do this. Yeah, I'm good with maths. Fine. Finished it. Came back, and then I was like, okay. I went into a standard job. I was working in a manufacturing company actually as a financial analyst, and it was then when I realized, to kind of go back to your question of, I was done at 4 p.m. and I felt there was this fire inside that I needed to let out creatively. And I wasn't getting that outlet in my daytime job. And so it started that fire of maybe I want to do something on my own. And it started my entrepreneurial journey, which we can delve into more if you'd like. But it started my entrepreneurial journey into creating an agency. And the agency, very similar to what I explained, was shedding light on Emirati talent from whatever case. Even if you had the talent of being a volunteer in CSR, that's a hobby, that's a talent. So I was doing that after hours, after 4 p.m. and until 4 p.m. was my work. So I was trying to balance the two. Um, Fast forward 4 years later into that same role in finance, I decided I can't do this anymore. I want to go solo. I want to be an entrepreneur full time. Left my job, and I had my work colleagues and my own family concerned because, having a job, having stability, having pension, having everything is great. It's security, it's a safety net. Entrepreneurship, risk outweighs sometimes the rewards, more so. It's the fear of the unknown. And at the time, Instagram came out. At the time, I was there when social media platforms were growing. So I saw how digital media was going even more further and growing. And I said, I can take my agency and grow with it. And I was very proud that our whole company was 20 Emiratis, 10 girls and 10 boys, all who never studied marcoms, never studied mass communications. We were all lawyers, we were doctors, we were finance graduates, we were engineers, and we created a media company or at that time. And so I told my parents, trust me, I'm going to do this. And I went to the wild and I started my own thing. Um, Whilst I was doing that, I realized that it was serving that creative outlet that I was talking about. But then I was very happy that I actually got, for the first time in my life, an actual professional career opportunity to work as part of the government mandate, um, on a PR communications background, mass comms. So I just told myself, okay, so I'm self-taught into creating this company and everything. But here's a real opportunity that I could get to actually learn from professionals, have exposure, because I don't have the degree in it. So maybe work experience can help me improve my entrepreneurship journey. So I went back into work and I was back into that balancing act. Um, and since then, I think both of them complement each other. It's not easy, for sure. I commend people on both aspects. Those that I have so many friends that tell me, I don't know how you're so brave to go into entrepreneurship. I have entrepreneurs that tell me, I don't know how you um, are so, brave to stay in a company or, be locked in. That's what they consider, a limited capacity of four walls for the majority of the day when you could be focused on doing your own things. I realized I started my entrepreneurship journey at the age of around 22. I realized at the age of 30, so quite, that actually this is where I'm supposed to be. This hybrid situation right now is where I find most comfortable. And there are others like me. It's not like I'm the only one. I think we have so many young Emiratis out there that balance the two. Uh, it's not to say that there's a right approach to any, but it's about how you balance that and what feeds you. So for me, for example, I get that sense of learning and exposure from a professional career standpoint. And also, it provides me credibility in a market when it comes to other industries. But then the entrepreneurship side is kind of like a complementary of that. When I go and introduce myself, you could be, XYZ member of a company. But then when you say, actually, on the side, I'm an entrepreneur, it raises eyebrows. It makes people think, oh, so there's the creative mind and then there's the logical mind. There's two aspects to this person. It just adds more to your portfolio. So I think I found that middle ground. But balancing, I think, all comes down to you and yourself. I am a very organized person. I have hour by hour by hour, sometimes calendars, but I also believe in teamwork. So my rule with entrepreneurship is everything I enter, I have to go in with a partner. So alhamdulillah, I have partners, business partners, and different entities that I balance off that are also working full time, but we balance off each other. Yusuf, I can't make it. I have a meeting, in my office. Can you go? Okay, fine, I'll take it. Saleh, I can't. Can you go? I'll take it. We go. And some people say, but don't you miss social life after hours? Or why are you on the weekends, working all day? But it's what you love to do. So if you make what you love to do enjoyable, it doesn't feel like work. So I feel like that's the balance you have to find in between so
You're
that you don't
getting
get drained.
the best of both worlds, by the way.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
the the logical and you said the creative. You're
Yeah.
getting the best of both.
Yeah.
Does that affect your social life?
It does until to a certain degree. I'm a very family oriented person, so I'm very close. I have, alhamdulillah, many nephews and nieces that I love to see, my parents, alhamdulillah, and everyone. And I set out, like I told you, I'm a very structured person. So there are some days and some dates that I plan in advance that I know and I lock and I say, this is when I want family time. We have also weekly family lunches that's never touched. It's like holy ground. No one's allowed to come into that. And my professional circle and my entrepreneurship circle understand those specific timings. But yes, uh, in terms of social life, I think it all depends on the individual. Me as a person, I'm at the age where I just want to continuously grow. And I feel like there's so much more to do that going coffee with my friends, playing a paddle match with them, doing something with, family and stuff like that. I think if you are pragmatic and you organize it in a specific way that you actually have a bit of social time, it's good for the soul. So you just have an ability to schedule and find balance there. But I do feel like you still have to make sacrifices. I have my friends who are on either spectrums. They're either entrepreneurs full time or they're professional. Their industry is full time. After 5 p.m. or whatever the case may be, every night or every evening they're out with each other and they're doing stuff together. Their mandate is specific. My mandate, I just have more that I want to do. So they understand that, listen, 7 days a week at night, I can't do it. I'll give you 3. And then they work around my schedule. But alhamdulillah, like I've created a unit where there is ability. My business partners are my best friends also, by the way. So some of my business partners are like my guy friends that I grew up with. And we decided to come up with an idea. So in a way, I do see my best friends often, but those that are not with me specifically in business, I make sure that I give allocated time because I feel like you need that. It's good for the soul. Because if you don't have that social, your brain just kind of gets stuck in the way and you can't step out to come up with new creative ideas. And then your friends understand you better. Sometimes mental health is very important. So if you don't and you neglect social circles and family time and stuff like that, it could affect your mental health, which eventually will affect your work. So I try my best.
You're an actual example of you can do it all and still get best of everything because as what I would say at my generation, when we're at universities, we're also focused on studying, studying, studying.
Yes.
And when we're not studying, we're just, let's say, playing games or, hanging out with our friends. But then the aspect of, let's say, entrepreneurship or starting a new project comes in like a huge block that we have to block that. And then we miss out on family time, friends time, and all of these things. And it's really important, like, to showcase that it is done.
Yeah.
It could be done if you put in the right amount of, as you said, they're allocating the time and everything, and it is possible. That's something I think a lot of people could actually learn from.
Yeah.
Like me myself, I've been really busy with a lot of things.
Yeah.
So I sometimes neglect a lot of things, other things in my life.
Yeah.
But to get this wake up call that, okay, it is possible. You're just being a little like irresponsible.
Yeah.
So that's a very good point to focus on. You said you used to interview individuals.
Yes.
Was there something at this point, like when I approach someone to for the sake of interviewing, they're already well accomplished. But you said at that point they were inspiring, like now
Yes.
they've reached a point.
Yeah.
What was something that really attracted you, or you were like, okay, this person might be someone in the future?
Yeah. So how
A
we
characteristic, maybe a
Yes.
vibe, maybe.
It was so at that time I was Saleh Al Braik, accounting and finance graduate who worked in a manufacturing company. Um, that was my background. So what I tried to do was I went into a lot of networking events. Actually, what it came to is because I came from 4 years, being in a university where I had no time to connect with other Emiratis, to be very honest. And so when I came back after 4 years, I wanted to connect again with my peers. I didn't know them very well besides my family. I had friends here and there, but over the course of university, sometimes your friends change or you change groups. So a lot of my friends, some of them were in the States, some of them were in Australia. So I didn't really see the high school friends very much. So I wanted to connect with people. So I started going out and network. I used to go to, I would see, at that time, Twitter was our primary digital platform that we were using. And so I would see an art gallery by a local and I'd be like, oh, great, I want to go. When I would go, I'd meet other Emiratis there, and I was very, inspired by their positive, welcoming vibe, aspirational. I would introduce myself to the talent, and I'll tell them this is the first time I see an Emirati artist. So can you walk me through? And they have this spark where you feel like um, they're the spark is passion. I didn't know what it was at the beginning, but then later I realized it was passion. So it's this passion when they talk about something, you can see when someone talks about something, when they're passionate about it, they just beam and they have this energy that comes out from them. That was the quality I started looking for. So what happened was the next day I saw that there was Dubai Cares posted a post about renovating a school here in the UAE and they wanted Emirati volunteers. So I went. Funny enough, I see the same people, some of them that were in the art gallery opening. So I'm like, okay, so there's obviously similar characteristics, but then when I was going into the art gallery, the renovation of the school, I met other people that were so passionate about giving back. And so I said, okay, so slowly I was like, what I realized at the time was um, it's not fair that I'm meeting only these people. People should meet these people. Like we should all meet. All Emiratis out there should know that actually there is a person from Al Ain who is a film director and he's 21 at the time, actually 19, and his first project is being showcased at Dubai International Film Festival. I, I thought to myself that was so cool. And when he was talking about his film, and I met him also very randomly. Um, I thought this is a spark. So going back to your question, what I was looking for was just people who had passion. I just wanted to find people because I felt like if you had passion, you would eventually fuel that passion so much that you will bound to get somewhere. Doesn't mean that success is determined by having an empire. It could mean that you just continued your passion and you're still doing what you still love doing, whether it's art, film, business, whatever that have you. So that's what I was kind of looking for in my circles. And as soon as I met someone, immediately, the more that I was getting known as the guy that interviews, um, I would meet you and then 20 minutes later say, so I interview people, right? And they say yes. I'm like, I would love to interview you. And some people would tell me why. I don't have anything. I'm like, you it's so humble of our culture to not want to brag and to not want to be put on the spotlight. Especially, okay, now it's social media, maybe it's a bit different, but I felt like that was so beautiful that we don't want to showcase our talent, but we should, because we actually not we're not bragging, we're inspiring. So that's what I tried to do with the people that I was interviewing.
There are times, although sadly,
Mm,
when someone is really passionate, there comes like a block that
mm.
confines them into,
Yes,
confines their passion, like studying, responsibilities, other priorities.
yes,
How does, and you were at that stage, bad, I
yeah,
think, when you started your work, your passion was just being so limited.
yes.
You couldn't find an outlet.
Hmm.
How did you break these barriers?
So one thing is like, okay, I'm male Emirati, but I still went through the same thing where my father sat with me and said, you can't leave your day job. You can't do entrepreneur all the time. It's not, it's not, it was ironic. He's an entrepreneur and he did it. But I said, but you did it. He goes, no, but the times are different now. Um, how I broke out of that one, just to give an example, is I learned, and then I used it till now, is I understood my audience, or I understood the block. The block at that time was my parents telling me that they were uncertain. My father is a businessman. So essentially what I did was created a business plan. I showed him what my company can do in 5 years. I showed him what I've achieved in the 4 years that I've done so far, how many clients I got. Because what happened was, while I was interviewing people in that agency, I was then seen as an Emirati database. So what companies were doing was calling me. I saw you interviewed this director. We have an ad, and these are global international companies. Can this director do our video? We really want an Emirati film director. And so I became an agency. I was representing the talent. Um, and so I told him, I said, these are the names and these are the companies. Uh, and these are all the fashion brands, the refreshment brands, the global brands that were talking to us. And this is in 4 years with a job. So this is my business plan. If I leave my job, what I can take the company to next. My father saw it. He was very happy that I gave graphs and presentations. It took a lot of nights because I was still working at the time. And it was important to me to get their blessing. I think it's a lot. We all have this respect for family and home. We want them obviously to be proud of us. So once he gave me his blessing, still afraid, he said, you're free to go, do what you want. And subhanallah, how life took me to where I am, where I'm now in the balance of both. So that is one way. I think if you feel like you have something when it comes from a family aspect, I think study more than go against it and maybe try to go on it full on from an aggressive approach. Look as to the reasons why. The reason why my dad and my mom were very hesitant was because they were afraid. They wanted me to be happy and success. They wanted me to have safety. I learned later that my dad, speaking to him now as I'm older, said entrepreneurship is not an easy life. It's very risky. You go up and you go down. We've seen it in the news. You have a business that's billions of dollars, and the next day they don't exist anymore. So I think what he was telling me was, at the time I wanted you to have stability because I didn't have stability. This is my father speaking. So when you have family or friends who maybe try to limit or try to think, it's you have to understand that there's something more deeply rooted behind it. It's actually coming out of goodness most times. but but that's how I learned about it. But then when you look at stuff like priorities, I have many friends who obviously, growing up they have their priorities, but for me personally, um, uh, I use those priorities to kind of fuel it even more. So me and my brother are business partners for a few F&B outlets in the UAE and in Bahrain. And so he has two kids. I have a full-time job. So we have our priorities that we have to do. We sometimes have to do it. The way that I saw that block and I said, okay, obviously there's time that I have to be even more crucial into. It's not forever. It's not always going to be like this. I think what people are afraid of is when they see that they have priorities, they think, oh, I have to let go of my dream forever. I have to go, you're talking to a person who, I have my full-time job till 5 p.m. I'm currently doing a 2-year MBA program. and I'm running 7 businesses. So it's very easy. And I try to have a social life, and I try to go to the gym 6 days a week. So I'm trying my best to stay structured. But what I'm trying to say that again is not from a perception of bragging. What I'm trying to say is all you need to do is, yes, we all have responsibilities and we all have, but if you're passionate about something, you will find the time.
And you're still loving it.
I love it. I might be sometimes 15 minutes late to things just because I'm juggling, but I love it. I feel like I've always been this way. I've never been able to sit down in one place long enough before I'm inspired by something else.
You mentioned that the people around you, out of their goodness, they try to limit you.
Yeah.
But there are people, unfortunately, there are some cases where they limit you because of not goodness, like a negative
100%.
aspect.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that?
So when I started my first business, I was a 22-year-old. The amount of doors, till today, by the way, it's not just because of my age, but I'm just talking about this specific thing. I was always told, you're a kid. Who are you to tell me as a company, these are multinational companies, how to manage my media? What do you mean Instagram is going to be something in the future? We don't need Instagram. We have billboards on Sheikh Zayed Road. I don't need different forms of media. I can do a radio ad, and I don't need something. So I think and also coming from an accounting and finance degree, it's like you don't have a professional degree in marketing. So why are you telling me how to market my thing? And I got those type of answers to my face, and they said, kid, you're not going to make it. So I think you better go back to your business, or at least do something investment, like open a business about fintech, or at the time there was no fintech, but and something more finance or investment related. And some of them weren't in so nice words, like they weren't doing it because some people might do it out of advice, or they're trying to give you advice, but some people were point blank shutting the door in my face, and it was just rejection, rejection, rejection. I didn't let that stop me. So what I ended up doing was I told either two things. If I saw there was a hope opportunity, I would say, give me your contract and I'll do it for free. And I'll prove to you why I can do it. And that's if there was hope. The second, if there was no hope, I had no hope. They just rejected me. And I said, you know what? I'll show you. And
I'll show you, got you here.
Yes. And essentially they became my client 4 years later. They called me and they were like, so, we have this event and we need you. And I said, great. But I just, at that time, I said, you know what, I'm going to do. So for my first year of my actual agency, by the way, which I started with my own savings, it was 10,000 dirhams. That's how much at that time it cost to make a website, to get a license. I didn't go through any SMEs. I was so fresh to the game. A lot of people were telling me, you don't even need to pay all these fees. And I didn't know anything because I was just doing it on my own. Went to the National Media Council, got a license, whatever. And it was so difficult because when I went to the National Media Council for a license and I told them, digital media, social media, there was no category actually for that. And I said, what do you mean? Because it didn't exist. They were like, oh, okay, we'll call you consulting services. I was like, great, whatever you need, I need to be an official company. But essentially what I did was the first whole year of my company, alhamdulillah, I had a full-time job. I did everything for free because no one was giving me an opportunity. And then one female Emirati gave me my first break, Maryam bin Fahad. And she gave us a contract. And then when a government, female leading, inspiring individual gives you a contract, word gets around like fire, because all of a sudden PR talks about this company of 20 Emiratis doing amazing things on digital media for the government. And then the second year, we couldn't control, alhamdulillah, the amount of, and then that's when I think people took us seriously. So even if someone tries to limit you and take you, and put you in a box and says you can't, or you know, it's not a great idea, it's not going to work. If you're passionate, just come up with ways. Do it. Do it even without them. Try to do it yourself. Try to create it yourself.
Last question. If you had to do it all over again, what would you change?
If I had to change, if I had to do it all over again,
Yes.
what would I change?
Yes. Saleh's professional, personal, all of it.
It's funny because I always feel like whatever you do has led you to here. But I think it's not something I would have done differently. Maybe what I would have wished I knew is to believe in myself more. I think all of us as humans, we try to, we have doubt and we have that inner voice in our head that keeps on saying, um, you can't, or maybe what this person said is true, or I had a bad day. Oh, it's going to be a bad year or a bad life, you have those down moments. I think what I wished back then, which alhamdulillah, Hassan, there's a lot more right now. There's a lot more positive messaging. There's a lot more tools out there when it comes to speakers and representatives and social media apps that help when it comes to boosting morale and motivation and seeing more Emiratis out there doing great things like we see even more now reaching to space. These things I feel like helps now, but if I could go back, I wish that I would have just been able to quiet those voices in my head, because I feel like if I had, I perhaps could have done more. I know it sounds crazy from someone who does so much, but I could have perhaps maybe made a little bit more wiser decisions when it came to directions of the company or directions of investment or who I wanted to go into business with or the type of companies I chose. Maybe I would have liked to do a degree in mass marcoms or marketing, but I feel like without the steps that I took, I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today. So I don't regret anything. But using this advice, I'm using it to myself every day now, which is anytime I have a doubt or I have a bad day, it's a bad day. It happens. Um, life is not perfect. It will not give you the same standard appreciation and rewards every day. You have to experience the bad. You have to doubt yourself so that you learn how to never go back to that same mindset again and work and then continue and improve or create. A door closes, look for the window. Don't ask yourself why is the door closing? Don't look at the door, look for the window and then find your way out.